Henry I. Before Henry I was on the throne, his brother William II was on the throne. Both, and also their other brother Robert, were children of William the Conqueror. Then one day William II was hunting in New Forest, and then an arrow shot by his friend William Tyrrell hit him, and he died. And the speed with which now his brother Henry I came onto the throne gave rise to some people having the suspicion that that was maybe a planned assassination. But now, in the year 1100, there is now Henry I ruling in England. And as already his father William the Conqueror and his brother William II, now Henry I has a rivalry with Robert, the Duke of Normandy. The Duke of Normandy had already attacked with William the Conqueror, he had attacked with William II, and now he attacks also invading England. He invades also against Henry I. But they're making the Treaty of Elton in the year 1101, and Robert, his brother, stays as the Duke of Normandy, and he is the King of England. Henry II is King of England in the year 1106. Robert and he are again fighting and having battles, and then Henry I wins again Robert and imprisons him for life in Cardiff Castle. So, that is the story, and now he becomes the Duke of Normandy as well, King of England and Duke of Normandy. And he is ruling, he is governing, he is administrating all there, and there's written in this book that some Ajoun region or something was lost while it was ruled in the Normandy under Robert, and now Henry I tries to regain them, but the growing power of Louis IX, the French king, stops him from doing that, and Henry II comes into more and more debt, majorly by the Pope, and he fears no excommunication, so he stops with these war adventures or war doings, and he starts now to administer and govern. He's then also called in the book that he was then called the cleric. Now, and he makes reforms. For example, is when the reform done the pipe rolls, which were then for 700 years until 1834 in use. They were about concerning the crown finances, and he also has then the Chancellor of Exchequer, Roger Salisbury. Already directly after he came onto the throne, he imprisoned the Bishop of Durham, the Rufold Flamber, in the Tower of London, who escapes then from the Tower of London. Now he is now governing and ruling, and he marries now Edith, the daughter of Malcolm III, who seems to be the Scottish king, and who is also the niece of Edgar the Earthling, who seems to have been a Saxon king in England previously, and that gives him stronger ties with Scotland and also with England, because he was the son of William the Conqueror, who had come over from France, from northern France, from Normandy to England. And now he's ruling and governing, and he has now with her, Edith, 2 sons and 2 daughters, but at the end of the day, I don't know how it's calculated, where is it that he has only 1 legitimate son. He has also more children who are not legitimate. Now, just 1 legitimate son, who one day comes with a ship from France over to Britain. He has written the pilot was drunk, stirred the vessel against the rock, and the ship is sinking, and Henry II is heartbroken over that his son had drowned. And now he tries to convince the barons to accept then his daughter Matilda on the throne. Then in the year 1135, Henry I dies of food poisoning near Rouen in France. So that's the story of Henry I, the main one here written in the book. Now, how goes it then a little bit on? There is now Matilda, his daughter, and Stephen. Both are grandchildren of William the Conqueror. And the barons are supporting Stephen on the throne, but some are then switching and starting to support Matilda, the granddaughter of William the Conqueror and also the daughter of the previous King Henry I. And they are now making civil war for 19 years. After 18 years of civil war, so 19 years in total civil war and 18 years of civil war, then Henry Plantagenet, the son of Matilda, comes to England, and he reaches then an agreement with Stephen that on the death of Stephen he will become the King of England, which happens 1 year later, in the year 1154. And in the year 1154, the grandson of Henry I, Henry Plantagenet, becomes the King of England as Henry II. And that is according to the history of the kings and queens of England and Scotland, mainly written on the page 38. The positions and views expressed are the ones of the source and don't necessarily align with my own or with the ones of the entity spoken of. Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn medieval studies, today Henry I, and after we've done it, we're going to do stretching. And if you participate in the stretching, then it's at your own risk. And this is the second part that we read on. Henry now devoted himself to the good government of England. He was in debt by the Pope and also by his brother, by the Pope. Henry's ambition to restore the Angevin possessions lost under Robert were not a success despite several attempts which were foiled by the growing power of Louis IX, King of France. Such commitments increased his debts, however, and as a major part of these were with the papacy, he feared excommunication for non-payment. Henry now devoted himself to the good government of England and became known as Buccleuch for his talent for administration and his knowledge of both Latin and English. With Roger Salisbury as his chancellor in the court of the Exchequer, he set about the reforms and the control of crown finances. The system known as paper roads continued in use until June 1834. So we had it already in the last part. That was he was in debt because it's not explained yet. I think he was making military campaigns in France to get Angevin back, which was lost by the Normandy in France and was ruled by his brother Robert. He wasn't successful and he came in debt by the Pope, and so he stopped doing military campaigns and ruled his country. And he was administering, had knowledge in Latin and English. He appointed Roger Salisbury as the Chancellor of Exchequer and introduced a crown finance system which was in use until 1834. Henry married Edith, daughter of Malcolm III, who was also the niece of Edgar the Atheling, and thereby strengthened his ties with Scotland and the existing English establishment. He had it already this way. So he married the daughter of a Scottish over-king or something. It is not explained here. Malcolm III, he married the daughter, Edith, of him. Henry's only legitimate son and heir to the throne was drowned while crossing the Channel from France. Returning from Normandy aboard the White Ship, William lost his life when the pilot, who was drunk, steered the vessel onto a rock where it quickly filled with water. So his son, with the name William, was headed around by coming from France over to England, because here is said that the pilot was drunk and then stirred the vessel against a rock. Henry, though heartbroken, set about assuring the continuity of his dynasty by trying to persuade the barons to accept his daughter, Matilda, as their queen. We're having next the Norman castles and then the feudal system. And then we're having Stephen and Matilda. Okay, timeline of the reign 1100-1135. 1100, Henry I succeeds his brother, William II Ranulph Lambert, Bishop of Durham and chief advisor to William II, is imprisoned by Henry in the Tower of London. Henry marries Edith, daughter of Malcolm III. So his predecessor was William II, who died while hunting out. He was hit by an arrow by a companion who was also hunting with an arrow. Now Henry I became the king, succeeding William II, his brother. And the chief advisor to William II, Ranulph Lambert, who is also the Bishop of Durham, is imprisoned by Henry I in the Tower of London. And when he marries Edith, the daughter of Malcolm III, the Scottish High King or something. When Robert of Normandy invades England, so his other brother, the Duke of Normandy, Robert of Normandy invades England in an attempt to wrest the throne from his brother Henry. Robert signs the Treaty of Alton. So one of Normandy signs the treaty, which confirms Henry as King of England and Robert as Duke of Normandy. Henry appoints Roger Salisbury as Chancellor. Okay, I don't know really what. I think he invaded, and when they sat down and agreed, we keep it as it is. You stay in Normandy and I in England or something. Okay, and it goes on. He stayed but from 1106 he became also the Duke of Normandy. It is not written why. Maybe he died or something. Why now? Robert was from 1106 onwards no longer the King of Normandy or the Duke of Normandy. But in 1001, for 5 years on, he was then Robert the King of Normandy, the Duke of Normandy, and Henry I, the King of England. Maybe we write it here. War breaks out between Henry and Robert of Normandy. So 5 years later, the treaty ended. Henry defeats Robert at the Battle of Tinchebrai and imprisons him in the Cardiff Castle for the rest of his life. Yeah, hero. Okay, in 1001, his brother Robert comes over and tries to get the English throne, but the English King Henry I wins, or something. They're making a treaty and saying one stays the Duke of Normandy and the other one in England. 5 years later, the Duke of Normandy tries it again, invades. This time there's another battle. This time he is defeated, and this time there's no treaty done. Henry I imprisons his brother forever in Cardiff Castle. And when 1009, Anselm, Archbishop of Canterbury, dies. 1118, death of Matilda. 1118, death of Matilda. How can that be? 1118. Okay, no, I want to know what's going on here, because that is 1135 and 1000, so it is 20 years later. And 1118 was Henry I still ruling. He was 1068. So it was mid-50 or something. Okay, death of Matilda, 1118, while Henry I was still ruling. 1120, Henry's 17-year-old son and heir William is throned. Okay, it can't be that he tries to make his daughter, Matilda, to be prepare the people around to accept her as the queen after 1120, if it's talked about the same Matilda who died 2 years earlier. 1121, Henry marries Adela of Louvain. 1128, Henry's daughter Matilda. Matilda had died. Matilda of Flanders, vielleicht his mother. Matilda of Flanders. Okay, Henry marries Adela of Louvain, and 1128, Henry's daughter Matilda marries Geoffrey Plantagenet, the Count of Anjou. Anjou was the place where William the Conqueror had his fatal horse accident. Okay, his daughter Matilda marries now the Count of Anjou. 1135, Henry I dies of food poisoning near Rouen in France. Food poisoning accidentally or an assassination? Okay, he dies in 1135. He was almost 70 or something. 67 was he. Okay, he dies of food poisoning. We don't know if it was someone poisoning him or food poisoning. That was the medieval studies part. If you were here for medieval studies, you can go directly to the next part, where we will continue at some place. Probably will we go back and make William II. We're always going a few pages in front, so that we know what happens after William II. So Henry I happens. And then we go back and make then the presentations, but maybe we will go further on even until Stephen and Matilda. Whatever, we will come to Stephen and Matilda at some place in medieval studies. If you were here for medieval studies, you can go directly to the next part. If you stay here and participate in the stretching, then it's better here on this. The feet are sent together, with one foot and the other foot, and the heels and the other heels, and so on. As far as we can go. And then back in again. This time stay down in the knees. And up again. Legs a bit apart and breathe with the arms up. And breathe out and go to the side. In and up. Out of the other side. In and up. Out and down. In. And out of one hand slides down the leg, the other shoulder stays down. Breathe in. Out one arm over. Breathe in and up the rib cage. Out and back. Again in. Out one hand down. Again in. And out and over. Again in. Out and back. I'm not completely through with it now, I know, but it was the predecessor of Ethelred the Unready who was murdered, when it was William II dying of an arrow, William the Conqueror dying from a horse fall, and now we're having Henry I dying of food poisoning, and his son drowning. Okay, let's go on with the next exercise. Breathe in the arms up. Out to the side. In and up. Out of the other side. In and up. Out and down. And also with Robert fighting, imprisoning. Before it was also with Ethelred the Unready. His brother was also fighting on the side of the Vikings. And now feet standing shoulder fight apart. And below shoulder circles back. Up, in front, and down. Get back. Up, and front, and down. In front, up, back. The brother of Harold of Essex. In front, up, back, and down. Breathe in the shoulders up. Out and let them fall down. In and up. Out and down. In the arms up. And reach always with one hand high up. Pretend to take an apple hanging high on an apple branch. To turn it a bit around. And then to let it down. And the next two sides, the arms up, breathe in, and out go over to one side, just at the upper part of the body. In middle, out to the other side. In middle, out and lean onto the knees. Breathe again in, out one shoulder in front. In back, out the other one in front. In back, and out and hanging down. Breathe in. Out and over to the leg. Again in. Out into the other leg. Again in. Out in the middle. And close the feet. Breathe again in. And out. Again in. And out comes slowly with the round back up. Back at the top and backwards. Shoulder round. The torso pointing to the outside. Breathe in the arms up. And breathe out and sink down. The elbows against the insides of the knees. Breathe in and straighten up. And out and come with the back up. Again in. Out and down. In and straighten up. And out come in one straight line up. Hands again down. Have a good standing leg. The other leg with its heel of the foot on top of the knee of standing leg. Breathe in. And out and sink down. Up. Change the leg. Again in. And out and sink down. Up again. Legs to the sides. Breathe in and down. And out, draw the shoulder blades together. In and up. Out and down. Another round. In and up. Out, open the rib cage. In and up. Out and down. In and close the legs. And again out. That was the stretching. I thank you very much, and at the next time.